Good evening, beautiful people, fellow bald men, all WoW players. I hope you guys are having a great week so far. I am making this, it's going to be very fast, and I'm making it to show you guys that the new and rather unfortunate meta is finally upon us. Since prior to TBC getting released, there was a lot of talk about melee weaving as a concept in the Hunter Discord and many other Discords, and it was believed that melee weaving effectively could be upwards of a 6 to 800 DPS increase. Now we found out pretty early on that Phase 1, Phase 2 of TBC, it was not anywhere near as effective as we thought it would be. People still touted it as being the best rotation, but we didn't really see that reflected in logs so much. As of late, we have seen a 180 on that. We've seen a lot of logs come out that are showing that weaving is in fact effective. We see rank 1, rank 2, rank 3, all sorts of top ranking hunters that are now melee weaving very effectively. And for whatever reason, this all started at the exact same point in time. Now, weaving in the past, in my mind, was not very effective because it had to be done manually. You move forward with a W key, you hit Raptor Strike or melee, you move back with your S key, and it's tough to get yourself in a perfect position each time and not mess it up. You have to do it manually, the timings can get off, and it's very hard to perfect. Now, since last month, we've seen quite a few logs shoot up to the top, kind of out of the blue. There was a lot of suspicion over an auto hotkey script that was released from China. That proved that there were certain guys that were scripting their entire rotation with melee weaving included, and they shot up to rank 1 almost instantly by doing this. Now those logs were blacklisted, the AHK script was found out, and it seems like Warcraft Logs is doing pretty good about banning any logs doing that. What we've been seeing recently is something very different, and a lot of people are claiming, suspicious weave timings, they're claiming auto hotkey, but it is in fact not these things. What it is instead is people using mouse macros with mouse software to put weaving into one button. What this means is that you program your mouse to do certain timings for pressing the W key, pressing your auto attack and Raptor Strike, and then pressing your S key so that you move forward and move back to the exact same position that you were in before so that you'll never get off kilter. We've been seeing weaving timings that are better than we've ever seen. They're lower, they're faster, logs are finally getting very consistent with them, and this is 100% what is going on. Now, what you do if you choose to participate in this is you have to have a certain mouse that has software which can program macros into it. I know that Razer mice do it pretty effectively. Logitech do as well, and you just have to use the added software that comes with these mice to make it happen. Now, when this first came out, I went to Blizzard to find out whether or not it was allowed. I went to Warcraft logs to see if certain logs participating in this practice would get banned. And it seems from Blizzard, from the ticket that I myself have put in, the tickets that others have put in, and what the community managers have said, that Blizzard cannot detect it and Blizzard cannot do anything about it. Now, as for Warcraft logs, they're very busy. I think that they do a very good job. And I did talk to them at length about this, and it seems that since we cannot perfectly detect these macros within logs, there's really not much that they can do about it as well. So this kind of leaves the gates open, so to speak, as far as whether or not you should do it, but it seems that we are seeing a lot of logs that are actively doing this. Nothing is happening to them. So I want to say that it's probably safe to be done, though I'm not going to be urging anybody to do it. Is it min-max? Definitely. Should you do it? Like, morally speaking? I don't know. There's a lot of guys in the Hunter Discord that have been trying to do manual weaving since the start of TBC, and even before that. They've put a lot of work into getting good at it. There's been a ton of practice behind it, and even though they've put in tons of man hours to improve upon it, they're still not as good as the people are that are using these hotkey scripts, or sorry, these mouse macros. Nowhere near as good. It's just too easy to press one button and make it all happen very quickly for yourself. So yeah, there is still a skill gap involved with it. It's not just a you press a button and your rotation becomes simplified very quickly. If anything, this will further complicate the hunter rotation. There becomes the balancing act of finding a perfect positioning on a boss, making sure you're not too far, not too close, finding that sweet spot, and making sure that you don't mess up your auto shot timer as well. There's a lot that goes into it. I can assure you that it does not seem easy as opposed to the regular hunter rotation, and there's going to be some work involved as far as getting good at it if you choose to pursue doing this rotation. Now, as I said before, I'm not urging people to go and do this for themselves, but I have been trying to help people min-max and do more DPS since the start of TBC, and this unfortunately does fall into that category. Um, Ways to practice would be the Dire Maul mobs, the ogres in there. You can practice on the mobs in Blasted Lands. You've got lots of target dummy-esque mobs in TBC, and you should be able to find one pretty easily if you choose to do so. One of the tough parts about the mouse macros is finding the perfect timings. You have to set millisecond parameters to show or to put yourself moving forward and then moving backward. And it's hard to get it perfect so that you remain in the exact same position every time. Having it even just a tiny bit off can move you just a little bit too far forward or a little bit too far backwards. And if that happens, you'll either not be able to auto attack when you use the macro, or you won't be able to shoot your bow because you're too close to the boss. And losing uptime results in a much lower DPS overall. So you really do need to perfect it, or at least get somewhat good at it, and find the proper timings to ensure that it will in fact be a large DPS increase. Otherwise, you might just be messing up your rotation, and in fact you're making yourself a DPS loss instead of an increase. As far as developments go, it's kind of new information. I'm planning to release the timings eventually once they're perfect and found out. I have a rough idea of what they are right now, but if anybody has questions on the timings or has suggestions perhaps, I'll be having that conversation on my Discord. How I personally feel about this, it's really cheesy. There's really no two ways to go about that. I don't like the fact that the guys that have been touting melee weaving since the start of TBC have kind of been put off by this because now all their practice is for naught. And as for me, I've kind of been the anti-melee weaving guy since the start of TBC. I didn't see it in the top logs. Most of the top parsing hunters were just doing the range rotation. It seemed, honestly, like a lot of cope coming out of certain people. Some people did it well, some not so much. But now that we've seen it effectively utilized with these macros, it's hard to deny the fact that the potential for extra DPS is very much there. As far as where this was found out, I don't want to name any names. I don't think that that's necessary in this case. If you want to go to Warcraft logs and look at names yourself and figure out what's what, that's fine. But I think it's safe to assume that maybe not most, I think it's safe to assume that many of the people that are weaving with top parses right now are using these macros. I'm sure there's more developments to come. I'm kind of just letting you guys know what's going on as it came out. If you have any questions, post them below. And yeah, I hope you guys have a great rest of your week. You guys all take care. Good night.